Okay, so yes, I am here, in fact, to tell you today that life after ops does exist. I went on call for production infrastructure the first time in 1999, and I stayed that way until 2 months ago. So I built, over that 16-year period, I built a lot of my self-image, my self-identity around being an ops. I was a sysadmin. I was a... Wow, okay. In any event, I became one of those people who totally relaxes by filling out, regular expression crosswords. Regexcrossword.com. You should totally check it out. It's a great thing. But I built up a lot of this, this is what I do. And there is a certain amount of certainty to ops. I mean, sure, like everything is on fire all the time, slow-burning tire fires and all that. But you've got graphs, you've got metrics, you've got ways that you can get to the bottom of what's going on. And then I decided to take a leap into the unknown. Andrew Clay Schaefer, some of you may know, is pretty good at saying, "Come with me if you want to live," and making it sound convincing. And I went to go work for him at Pivotal in the marketing department. I know, right? And that was one of my last weeks at Drama Fever was when that hashtag I look like an engineer came out. And I remember thinking, like, am I going to still be an engineer? So certainly there's some things that are good about saying goodbye to ops, like my sleep graphs no longer look like this. And sorry, PagerDuty folks, but I had to admit I was kind of happy to delete the PagerDuty app. No longer had to listen to that creepy voice. And I did take 1 week of fun employment. My partner Joe and I, of course, stayed up all night to do a 24-hour bike relay race, which is kind of like ops in that you get no sleep and you're counting on your team. And I did also finally get back to our garden. It turns out benign neglect is delightful for your tomatoes. A combination of a hot summer and not overwatering them meant that turned out just fine. But there was a lot of change, a lot of new stuff. I'm on a completely distributed team now. I was a remote employee before, but my entire team now is scattered across the U.S. and actually one person in South Korea. And it's a much less, stringently defined sort of job. So in the past, it was like, well, got to get this working. And now it's like, explore some stuff, learn some stuff, teach some stuff. It's a choose your own adventure. There's a lot less structure. It's super fun, but it's some of the stuff that I get to do now. I mean, I was podcasting with Arrested DevOps before, but now I've gotten to do some of the Pivotal Conversation podcasts, like with my coworker Michael Cote, who does a lot of podcast stuff, and just talking about how there is a lot. I mean, when you hear all these buzzwords about like cloud native or whatever, I learned exciting new words, by the way, like marketecture. This is an architecture diagram that has no port numbers on it. And I do a lot of my work now from planes because, conferences. GoGo says this way more frequently than you would actually want it to. And I have noted, Chrome also tries to translate the Japanese for me. It's like, you don't actually need to. The translation's right there. By the way, if you've ever had the in-flight entertainment system, sidebar of a sidebar, if you had an in-flight entertainment system on your plane reboot itself, you get all of these, like, watchdog errors. I don't even know. But, I mean, at least it's running Linux, right? So that's something. But anyway, so where I'm going on all these flights is to conferences, trade shows. My second week at Pivotal, I was at VMworld. Just last week, I was at the Code for America Summit. They could not be more different from one another. Well, no, last week I was at AWS reInvent. It was more like VMworld than it was like Code for America. But anyway, so one thing that's, I think, kind of comforting and exciting is that there's still a fair amount of janky bash under the hood. I still spend a fair amount of time, digging through that. And while I do feel horribly guilty when DynamoDB... By the way, so is AWS just DynamoDB all the way down? Is that what we found out? But now that I'm not the one getting paged in the middle of the night, I wake up, I see, oh, everything was terrible. I feel sort of terrible about that. But I still have the opportunity to shave my share of yaks because it's always a DNS problem. I mean, even when you don't think it could possibly be a DNS problem, just check again. It's probably a DNS problem. But what the takeaway that I want you to take away from this is if you want to try a different thing in your organization, maybe you want to go into product, maybe you want to try technical product marketing, maybe you want to go into management. I tried that, didn't like it quite as much as this. But if you're going to try something like that, just keep in mind, you'll still be technical, and you'll probably be contributing really well just because you are a technical person in a role like that. So if you're interested, give it a shot. Thanks.